All right. All right. Welcome, welcome. We're just letting people come in now. Just give me 1 minute. We're going live on Facebook, I think. Maybe not. It's giving me a hard time.
That's always right.
Yeah. It may not go live this. I don't know what's going on. I wonder if something changed. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to go live. As with people, we have still some people coming in, so that's good. I'm just going to go into Facebook real quick. Sometimes they change things and with the group settings. So
yeah, I actually used to run a bunch of Facebook challenges, and then I'm hosting my most recent one, and I'm running into lots of issues in Facebook. So I don't know what's going on with them.
I noticed they changed stuff. Like I went in today, so I'm wondering if they've, no, I still have, I'm just going to remove that app and then re-add it real quick. And then if it doesn't work, I will just have to upload it to the group later and we can get going. Let's try it again. There we go. All righty. Okay, now it's going live. Whew. That was weird. Okay. All right, so that's going live. Welcome, everyone. We've got some people online. Thank you for joining. My name is Renee Roberts. For those of you that don't know me, I am a functional nutrition coach and founder of Nourish to Live RX. And I work with men and women over 40 to develop healthy habits to gain energy and sleep better. And just a few little logistics before I introduce our guest speaker. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat or the Q&A box. If you would like to come on audio, feel free to raise your hand and we'll bring you on and you can ask some questions as well. But today, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Morgan Fazio, who is going to speak to us about building a better body image. So I'm going to read this. Morgan is a certified holistic health coach, personal trainer, and intuitive eating specialist that works with women to resolve digestive issues, heal hormones, fall in love with exercise, and feel their best without diets or militant exercise programs. Her clients find food and body freedom by practicing intuitive eating, an approach that gives us permission to let go of food rules, fear, and guilt so many women struggle with. So welcome, Morgan. How are you doing?
I'm so good. And thank you so much, Renee, for having me here tonight. And hello to everybody out there watching. I'm really honored to be here with you and excited to share all the material I have planned. And hopefully everyone takes a lot away from it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you can take it away and feel free to start whenever you are ready.
All right, great. And Sandy, I see you said happy to be here. Thank you so much. I was actually going to start with if you would like to just follow along or engage with comments, because I'll probably be asking certain things like, have you ever felt this way or does this resonate? And if you want to engage with me, let me see it, comment in the chat box. And then I'm going to ask any questions get just held till the end. I probably have about half an hour worth of content. We'll see, maybe like give or take some minutes here or there. But Renee is going to be fielding some of those Q&As and I'll address those at the end. So any major questions, just pop those in the Q&A box. But other than that, let's get rolling. So to start, like Renee said, my name is Morgan Michelle. I'm the founder of Morgan Michelle Coaching. I'm a certified health coach, personal trainer, and intuitive eating coach. And I specialize, just like Renee said, in helping women optimize their health, heal their body image, and just feel their best without these restrictive diets or militant exercise programs through a process called intuitive eating. And intuitive eating, if you've never heard of this, is an approach that allows us to let go of the constant food stress and guilt and shame that so many people struggle with. I myself used intuitive eating extensively in my own healing journey as I overcame many painful issues like endometriosis, SIBO, PCOS, leaky gut, and I worked to heal my relationship with food, my body, and myself through intuitive eating. And intuitive eating really gave me the tools I needed to come home to my body. I've been coaching women for over 3 years, and last year I transitioned my business to full-time and left my nearly 10-year corporate engineering and business career, and I haven't looked back since, to be honest, because this work I do is so fulfilling, and this coming home to your body really lights so many women up. I've worked with over 20 one-on-one clients and still counting, and have taught hundreds of people the power of intuitive eating and the power of healing your body image through groups just like this. And just like I used to be, my clients are women who are fed up with the false promises of dieting, and they're really looking for their ticket out. They want to live the healthy and energized life without being consumed by this constant fog and guilt and shame and rules and obsessive food and body thoughts that come with dieting. And they are tired of feeling at war with their bodies. And they're ready to step into their inherent worth and live a life that's not based on restriction. So my signature program, which you can see pictured here, is Eating Made Easy. Eating Made Easy is comprised of 2 major pillars. I break it into food freedom and body freedom because we all deserve to feel free in our relationships to those things, right? And tonight I'm going to be sharing some highlights from my body freedom pillar and give you some powerful and hopefully transformational information and techniques and tools that I use with my private clients inside of this pillar. So I can't wait to dive into all of that with you tonight. And again, as we go, I love seeing how this is landing for you all. So if you're with me live and with Renee live, then just plop your comments into that chat box so I can see them. All right, so after learning these tools, some of which I'm sharing with you tonight, my clients usually go from, I'll say, the left side of this page to the right. So they go from walking by the mirror and hyper-focusing on their flaws to walking by the mirror and not getting distracted by their bodies. And if they do see themselves in the mirror, they see this imperfectly perfect human being. It doesn't derail their whole day. They also go from viewing their body as perhaps a specific body part, like a belly, a thighs, I should say, chin. Let me know if you guys have ever felt that way, where you go to the mirror and you just hyper focus on one body part and you kind of boil your whole body down to this one thing. Well, with these techniques I'm about to show you tonight, we can start transitioning to seeing yourself as a whole person, a whole human being. We also can go from constantly comparing ourselves to other, whether it's in photos or on social media or in social settings, or even old versions of yourself. I also work with clients on that, where we work on comparing to past versions, like your high school self or the self that you were at 10 years ago. And we're going to go to feeling more like your worth is not dulled when you're comparing, because comparison is normal, but we want to still maintain our own sense of worth when we're in that comparison mode. We also go from being consumed by these constant thoughts about food and body, like what am I going to eat? What is this? Does this dress make me look big? What is the best angle for this photo here? All of these things. And we go to freeing up that headspace that was consumed by those thoughts before. And now we have the space to think about other things that truly light us up, and we can be fully present and undistracted in our own lives. And then the last thing I'll touch on here, which is a big one for people, we go from feeling this constant pressure to change our body, like I need to lose weight, I need to get abs, I need to get rid of this cellulite, I need to wax my eyebrows. The list goes on and on and on, especially for women, I've noticed. And we transition to this place of feeling at peace in our body, no longer feeling at war with her, and feeling more like a partner and a friend to her. And chances are, if you're here tonight or if you're watching, you're currently experiencing some, if not all, of the things on the left side of this page. And I'd love for you to engage in the chat box if you're with me live here in Zoom, letting me know if there's something that you feel like you are in on this left side. And tonight, I'm going to give you some tools to start working your way across the bridge to the right side. So how does that sound? I hope that that sounds great and you guys are with me. So how we're going to get there is just this rough agenda, rough timeline for tonight and the topics I'm going to be covering. So first, We're going to talk about what I mean when I use the terms diet culture and diet, and learn how they are impacting your relationship with your body. Now, we're not necessarily going to be talking about diets and diet culture throughout this whole thing, but it's just important that you know what I mean when I say them, because I will be using those terms. We'll then talk about the 411 on body image, where it comes from. Then I'll give you 5 steps to build a better body image. And this is going to be just a reminder, a good thing to have a notebook handy to write these down probably. If you don't already, now's a great time to grab one. And then ending with how to anticipate and navigate some snags that you may run into along the way as you are trying to implement some of these changes and some of these tools I'm going to give you. And then at the end, like I said, probably like a half an hour we'll leave for Q&A and wrap it all up at the end. So before we dive in, like I said, I'd recommend grabbing a few things here, a notebook, pen and paper. If you're like many clients that I have, we all are on electronics now. So if you have a OneNote file or you take notes on your phone, whatever that way is for you, just grab it now, get yourself set up, and perhaps maybe grab something to drink. I definitely have my water here, which I'll be sipping on every so often. So get yourself set up and nice and cozy. And next, there's just a few things I want to draw some attention to before we start. So the first thing is I ask that you be open to new ideas tonight or tomorrow or whatever day it is that you're watching this. And my guess is that if you're here already or you're watching this, then you probably are open to new ideas. 9 times out of 10, when I share this content, it is information that people haven't really heard before and truly does defy the norm of what's out there. Because we are so surrounded by diet culture that most of us don't even realize when we're doing a diety thing. And some of this information can feel sometimes confronting when we're in that space, and that's okay. So I'm here to tell you that it's normal because this is new. The second thing I ask you to keep in mind is, in a similar fashion, to note that change often can feel uncomfortable. And at times you may feel like your current belief systems are being challenged by this new information. And that can bring up a lot of feelings or resistance, or even make some people like have different emotions like anger or sadness or being scared. And if you are having any of those hard feelings surface for you, know that it's normal again to have it when doing this type of work. So I'd invite you to have some compassion and gentleness with yourself if any of these things do surface for you, because we all can afford to be a little gentler with ourselves. Am I right? And maybe they won't, right? Maybe you won't have any of that stuff surface, but just in case, have this reminder and acknowledge those heavy feelings that come up and have compassion. Please know this is also a safe space, and I'm here to lead you through this body image transition and techniques that I'm going to give you in a powerful way and support you as best I can. Many of you have dieted so much in the past, perhaps, and maybe you still are. And if you found yourself still caught up in diet culture, it's okay. I'm not asking you to stop that stuff. I'm not asking you to like completely cut all of that out. I'm just going to be presenting some different ideas tonight and some different viewpoints to give you some new concepts to consider and maybe try on for yourself. I always say to my clients, like, try it on like a t-shirt at the store. Like, you try it on, you see if it feels good. If it doesn't, no big deal. You take it off and you try a new shirt. We also don't dismiss our diet days. I'll add that in here too. We honor them. We can learn so much from our past experiences. And in fact, those past experiences are in fact what led us here tonight, all of us. So as you soon will hear though, I'm gonna be giving you some different perspectives on diet culture and explaining why diet culture does very little to actually serve our health and is all about the short-term game. And I'm going to invite you now to play the long game and to learn some new techniques that will work for life. The last thing I'm going to touch on before we dive into this is I want to invite you to latch onto this. There are times when what feels familiar is not the best choice. And I think we look for certainty and familiarity, and it can be hard to get out of our comfort zones. But what I want you to not be too eager to do tonight is to find something that feels right, because feeling right is sort of a way to say, you know, this is familiar. And tonight I may be presenting things that don't feel familiar to you. So I'm asking you to trust that when you do hear or try new things, you can find a new normal. And perhaps this new normal can support your goals and your hopes and your dreams more than the previous normal did. We all know if you do what you did, you're going to get what you got. So we want to do the opposite of what we've done if we want to go somewhere different. And if you're here, again, my guess is you've tried dieting more times than you can count, and you're really tired of constantly feeling at war with your body and are just looking to make peace with her, and or just looking to try some different ways of being, and you ended up here. So perhaps these new methods that I'm going to show you tonight are methods that you need, even if they don't feel comfortable at first. So at the end of this webinar, the last thing I'll mention is I'd love for you to share just one thing that helped you or that stood out to you the most. So be sure to write it down as we go, if maybe there's like a phrase or a word or a concept that really hit home with you. And if you could just share that one thing at the end when we get to that final portion, I would love to hear it. Always helps me like make this presentation better and really just see what hits home for everybody here. So if that sounds good. And with that, we're going to dive in. So even though we won't be getting to that food freedom portion tonight, I will be referring probably to diet culture or diets. So it's important you understand what I mean when I use these terms. So just to get started here, a diet is any sort of control over what you eat or the way that you're moving your body. And this could look like logging food in a MyFitnessPal, having strict meal times, like when you can and cannot eat. Intermittent fasting is a big one here. So like you can't eat after a certain time and you can't eat before a certain time when you wake up in the morning. Any kind of control, like deeming foods as off limits or deeming foods as good or bad, or saying exercise counts or didn't count depending on what you did or did not do. Perfect example would be like, oh, if I only walked a half mile, it doesn't count. I needed to walk a mile. Like in my head, there's that kind of that gauge of if it counted or did not count. There's also, I noticed Fitbits, people that use Fitbits, their day didn't count if they didn't hit 10,000 steps. They kind of have to make it up the next day. That is all forms of control. A diet is also any sort of attempt for intentional weight loss. And back in the day, in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s, diets were all of the rage. And I mean like actual diets. So let me know again in the chat too, if you remember like the Atkins diet or Weight Watchers or South Beach. All of these are diets. And back then it was very clear cut what a diet was, but today things have changed because even Weight Watchers has changed its name to like WW, trying to trick people into thinking that it's not a diet. And you see diet culture is catching on that people don't want diets. So instead they just call them things like detoxes or cleanses, or of course like the lifestyle changes. And these diets all pitch that they're about health, but what they really exist for is to shrink your body. So any goal for weight loss when we are working with intuitive eating just doesn't belong there. Intuitive eating is a weight neutral program, and this simply means that when you practice intuitive eating, you aren't focused on weight. And when you practice intuitive eating, sure, you might lose weight, but you might also gain weight and you might stay the same weight, and not one is better or worse than the other. And opposed to popular opinion fueled by diet culture, weight is actually a very poor indicator of our health. And I dive way into this in my programs, Eating Made Easy, to equip you with all the tools so you know why that is and why it's harmful for our body. And with intuitive eating, we shift our focus to actual markers of health, like how we feel, how we're moving our bodies, and how we are taking care of our whole selves, our physical, mental, and emotional. It's not just the external stuff, it's the internal stuff, right? And it's actually very little to do with the external stuff, in fact. Next, we're going to define diet culture as a system of beliefs that values weight, size, shape, and physical characteristics of the body over actual well-being. It teaches us to place labels on food, like good and bad, clean and dirty. It teaches us that some bodies are good and other bodies are not. And it encourages us to define our self-worth, especially as women, based on our external appearance. So if you were born in the past century and a half, congrats, you were born into diet culture. And it affects all of us. It affects all of us in honestly pretty negative ways, and encourages us to go on diets to change our bodies. And honestly, these diets fail 95 to even 98% of the time. Or these diets put your life on hold until something about your body changes. And the beautiful thing is that through awareness, which is what we're working on tonight, we can start to shift the beliefs we've learned from diet culture and become resilient to its messages and begin to honor and take care of our bodies from a place of true self-care. while pursuing the life we desire, regardless of our body size. So I hope that sounds good to you, because that's what we're in for tonight. And like I said, the first step really is awareness. I forgot to go forward on these, but you can read the bullet points here again. Diet culture teaches us that some bodies are good and bad and defines our worth on external appearance. So in my work, I found there are two main reasons why women can diet. So the first one is what we just talked about, to shrink, manipulate, or change their body, to fix your body in some way, because diet culture has put so many messages and beliefs into our heads that we need to be worthy or acceptable or desirable or whatever is coming up for you. The second reason I find many women turn to diets is to feel better. They just want more energy. They want less bloating, whatever it might be, and they don't know how else to have this without diets, food rules, and meal plans. And please let me know in the chat again, if you've ever been in these categories. You can type a 1 or 2, or if you've been in both, write a 3. And I fell into both of these categories personally throughout the various stages of my life, but the one I'm going to address tonight is number 1. And this is where we're going to hang out for tonight. I've always been in a relatively thinner body frame, but when I went to college, I gained what you guys probably know as the dreaded freshman 15. How many people have heard of that before? And this was really the first time in my life I had to deal with comments about my weight. Before then, I had never really thought about it. It wasn't ever really a big deal. But when I came home from college with this weight gain, family members would start pinching my sides and say, "You must be eating well at school," or "You better stay away from those fat calories." Like my body was supposed to stay high school thin forever. And to my 18-year-old self, I was mortified. I felt like I failed. How could I let myself gain weight? Receiving comments like this led me to believe that gaining weight was shameful and that I did something wrong, and that my high school body was a better body. It was more worthy and more desirable and more acceptable, and that bigger bodies were bad or unhealthy. Because why would people be making those comments if they weren't? So as many women do, I dove into diet culture hard. I would only eat salads for lunch and dressing on the side, of course. I felt guilty if I missed a day of working out. And if I ate desserts or any sugar, I doubled my workouts the following day. And then after running nearly 6 miles, I would have one bowl of Special K for dinner. And if I felt the need to binge or late night snack, which I definitely did, I did it in private because I was too ashamed to be seen. And this went on for years. And the sad part is that many saw this behavior as normal. And the more weight I lost, the more I was rewarded with comments like, "Oh my God, you look so good. What are you doing?" Has anybody ever felt this way before? Has anybody ever had this experience before? And just a quick pause, if this is triggering anything for you, I want you to just take a nice deep breath here and exhale through your mouth. And if you're watching the replay, you can even press pause, like take a minute here, collect yourself, just stay with me and know that it's okay. Our culture and our social constructs almost expect this of women and hammer this into our head, that we need to be on this constant pursuit of thinness. And it's normal for everyone to be on a weight loss journey. So I want to dig into why this feels so normalized. And first, it's important to understand that body image, as you can see on the slide here, is actually built from nurture, not nature. So let's go back to when you were young, and let's think about when you were a baby even. You came into the world totally and blissfully unaware of all of the harmful body beliefs. And if you ever watch children now, I love watching children now. It's like this great experiment for myself to like see this human coming into the world totally unaffected by everything else that we have all had downloaded onto us as adults now. But if you ever watch children from the ages of like newborn to maybe around 4 or 5 years old, they're playful and they're very happy and moving, and they're not afraid if their stomach is hanging out or if they can't button their pants, right? They don't care. But once children become toddlers, they start learning. They start learning from their peers and their parents and the media, all of these things which are drastically influenced by diet culture. And you may think back to your childhood and recall like, oh my God, I know who the cute kid was. I remember what mom said about her body. I remember what diet she was on. I remember her pulling me to workout classes. You may have started to believe at this very young age that thinness meant worthiness and acceptance, and that appearance was everything, and that being bigger was shameful or unhealthy. And I see some of you guys engaging in the chat right now saying, yeah, like I gained weight in my first year too. And now we're dealing with COVID, which is also, again, something that's been very heavy, even with the clients I'm working with coming out of COVID now, and they're experiencing their different bodies. Well, we've been told that the bigger bodies are shameful and unhealthy. And that's what I'm here to kind of help you recode tonight or give you some different perspectives. So I want to call attention to this idea. I'm going to recap this statement here to make sure you're with me. We've been told that thinness is worthy, and that thinness means acceptance, and that appearance is everything, and being bigger is shameful and unhealthy. But what I'm trying to call attention to is that this is not a fact. These are what we call ideals. And these ideals are exactly what hold women back. So what do we do? Well, as I said before, the first step to any change is awareness. We can't change until we are aware that change needs to happen in the first place. And awareness is exactly what we're doing right now. We're bringing some of these ideals to the surface, becoming aware that these are in fact belief systems and not truths. That's very key. It's crucial we become aware of where the belief came from in the first place. And the problem wasn't with mom or any other person who made you develop these body beliefs. It was with the system. It was with diet culture. The people in the system are doing the best they can with the information that they have available to them. So we always blame the system, never the people in it, right? Like, so if you think back to your mom who pushed all these diet culture beliefs into you, she probably believed that thinness meant worthiness and acceptance, and she wanted that for you. She wanted that for you so bad, right? Or whoever it was in your life that was pushing these ideals onto you. They were just doing the best that they could with your intention, good intentions in mind. So blame the system, never the people in it. And I want you to think of this event kind of like cleaning out your backpack. Like you've been carrying around this stuffed backpack with you constantly, but now we're starting to pull stuff out of it, right? We're starting to unpack it, and we're actually like looking at what you put in there. And the best part is you can decide what you want to put back and what you want to chuck, what you want to get rid of. And this leads me to the second part of change, which is after awareness comes choice. You have the choice to hold on to that. If you want to continue, like if you pull this out of your backpack and become aware you're carrying around a toothbrush, you can put that toothbrush back in there if you feel like you need it and it's valuable to you, or you can throw it out. You can get an electric toothbrush, maybe more efficient, might help you get to your goals better, right? This is the same thing with what we're doing with our thoughts and our belief systems. Once we realize the beliefs we hold, we have the power to choose. Do we want to keep believing this? Do we want to keep carrying this around? Or would we like to let it go or work on recoding it, feeling light, changing the narrative? And again, if you're here tonight, my guess is you want to learn how to change that narrative. And let me be the first to tell you, this is such a powerful step, and it's so necessary for the work that we're going to do tonight. So studies show that women historically put life on hold until something about their bodies changes. And this stat still baffles me and is still true, that 9 out of 10 women will cancel important life functions such as an interview or social events because she doesn't like the way that she looks. I'm guessing some of you probably have similar things popping up in your head of events that you've canceled in the past because you didn't like the way that you look. Is that coming up for you at all? Is that resonating? And I ask you this, how can you be who you really want to be if so much of your energy is going into picking your body apart or judging her or comparing her to others or forcing her to change or feeling unworthy or not good enough? And just for a moment, I want you to imagine, just imagine, what would your life look like if you weren't constantly obsessing about or micromanaging your weight? What if you chose to actually focus on taking care of yourself and your needs, as opposed to putting such tremendous pressure and focus on your physical appearance? What could you do with all that freed up energy? What if you were just free to be truly seen for who you are rather than how you look? How would that change things for you? And it turns out that so many of us are focused on the wrong thing in order to feel better about our bodies. We turn to diets and exercise and control in order to fix our external appearance. But what if I told you that body image actually has very little to do with external appearance and everything to do with the internal stuff? Your thoughts, your beliefs about your body, how you speak to yourself, the relationship you build with your body. And I realized this during my diet days, because even when I lost the weight, I wanted to still change something. I still wasn't happy with myself. I still was looking to always change, whether it was, okay, well, now I need abs. Okay, well, I have abs. Well, now I need this. Oh, well, now I look too muscly. Now I need to come back down. How many of you have done that before too? So wouldn't that tell you that it is something going on with the way that you see yourself, not necessarily anything about your body? With intuitive eating, I finally realized it. Like, it wouldn't have mattered how much weight I lost or what I looked like at all. I would always struggle with my body image if I kept refusing to work on my internal world, to get curious about where my negative body image beliefs come from, and to really understand, like, where am I placing my worth as a human being, and to work on the relationship I had to myself. Most don't realize this, but you are in a relationship with your body. And just like a relationship with your partner or a friend, it's nice, sure, if you're attracted to them or you like how they look, it's a plus, but it can't be all that it is. It has to be deeper than that to be love. And I included one of my favorite quotes here to help ground us in this idea that you're a human being with a soul and so much more than an external appearance. And that is, the way you look is the least interesting thing about you. And I don't know about you, but I've never heard someone say, oh, she's like my best friend because she's a size so-and-so. Or I just love her so much because she is so good at maintaining a thigh gap. But it sounds silly. Like, I even want to laugh saying it, because nobody says that stuff. We love people for who they are and how they make us feel, right? Like, think about why you love your best friend or why you love your partner. What is it about them? Sure, like, it might be nice if they look good, but it's so much more than that. And relationships take time to form, and they are mostly founded on things like trust, respect, and appreciation. Now, I will say this, I'd be doing you a disservice if I told you that the only goal was to get you to accept your body, because really there is so much joy in finally getting to a place of loving yourself and your body unconditionally. However, I watch so many people, especially women, try to do too much too fast, and they fail at this. This is a transformational process that takes time and intentional repeated action. And when we try to jump from I hate my body to I love my body overnight, our brains don't believe us. It just feels forced and almost fake. Like, your brain's like, no, you don't. You're a damn liar. I don't believe you. Like, have you ever heard those things on social media where it's like, hey, if you hate your thighs, just slap a Post-it on your mirror that says, I love my thighs, and say it 10 times to yourself in the mirror every morning. Well, not only does that not work, but it can actually make matters worse, because, like I said, you don't believe it. So your body's going to be like, or your brain's going to be like, no, we don't. I don't love my thighs. This is a lie. So it's actually going to cause you to retreat in the other direction. I call this toxic body positivity. So we don't want to engage in that kind of toxic body positivity and force it on our brains. To actually get from I hate my body to I love my body, there are actually a few more steps than just like transitioning from I hate my body to I love my body. There's actually 5 I'm going to go over with you to be exact, and they go something like this. So it would be a great time for a notebook or to write these things down. So the first one is to realize you have choice, right? That second step to change after awareness. You have choice to opt out of diet culture and the harmful messaging that preaches, a nice looking body is the key to a loving relationship with your body. You can totally choose also to opt into that if you want to. I'm not here holding your feet to the fire telling you that you need to believe this or you need to opt out of diet culture. I'm here to show you what can happen for you if you choose to do so. And I also am here to tell you that you have choice in the way that you talk to yourself, and the things that you say to yourself matters, and the way you speak to yourself. These words have power, so choose them wisely. choose the words that you are using to describe yourself, to talk about yourself, to talk to yourself wisely and with intention. Step number 2 is really important. So this is often missed when we try to go from I hate my body to I love my body. We miss this neutral zone. So I like to say a step 2 is to get neutral. I always also say body neutrality is really the gateway to body positivity. And just to get clear with you guys, I want to explain what neutral actually means. And simply put, neutral means we shift out of positive and negative thoughts. When we're talking about our body image, we're shifting out of positive and negative body image thoughts. So for example, if you catch yourself staring at your stomach in the mirror, saying, oh, I hate my stomach. I just don't like how it looks. I hate it. It has too much fat, whatever it is. That's a negative thought. Those are negative thoughts. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you're looking at your stomach saying, I love my stomach, that's a positive thought, right? So instead, we just want to shift into neutral. And to do that, I think it's more about shifting back into our humanity. Neutral statements are things like, my stomach is at the center of my body. My stomach is here to digest my food. I need my stomach to live. My stomach allows me to be here. And those are neutral statements. Those are true. Returning to humanity is about, like, can you acknowledge that you have a human body? Can you truly see your body as human? Because diet culture has actually done a really great job of turning our bodies into objects. They've turned our human bodies into these things that need to take perfect shape and look the same, like we compare our objects to other objects. It's all objectification. But in reality, we are human beings that are in dynamic, ever-changing human bodies. We're in these bodies to live in, and these bodies adapt and change. The body I had this morning is not the same as the body I have right now, and that's constant throughout my entire life. And my 57-year-old body isn't going to look the same as my 17-year-old body, and my hopefully 87-year-old body isn't going to look the same as my 57-year-old body. And these are just things that are facts of life. We are not supposed to be controlling and manipulating our body in these ways. And in fact, in my food freedom portions, I talk about how the body actually has built-in biological responses to rebel against this kind of control. So getting neutral, again, is about accepting that you're a human being in a human body having a dynamic human experience, and worth is not tied to your weight. And the last thing I'll add here is that part of this step is not only seeing yourself as human, but learning to see other bodies as human too, right? Can you actually look at your friend and see them as human? Can you look at everybody on this call? I know we can't see each other, but like everybody here is a human being too. We were all put on this earth for something greater than to control our external appearance. And when we realize that everybody's connected by our humanness, it kind of makes the playing field just a little less scarier, right? Awesome. And I'm seeing the comments in the chat here. We make peace with our bodies from this insight. Yes. Thank you for engaging in the chat here. I'm going to move on to step number 3. I have to take a quick sip of water. I think my allergies are kicking up, getting a little hoarse in my throat. Excuse me. So moving on from steps 1 and 2, we get to step 3, which is, can you see yourself as a whole person and not just that specific body part I mentioned at the beginning? I often find that women have become so used to seeing themselves as one part. We boil ourselves down to a stomach or touching thighs or a chin, right? Have you done this before where you just look in the mirror and your attention immediately goes to that one spot? You're not seeing yourself as a whole person. You're seeing yourself as a stomach or whatever it is for you. And I invite you to try this step next time you see yourself in the mirror. Can you see your whole self? Can you see your whole body? Can you recognize that your body is not just thighs and it's not just arms, it's not just a stomach? You are made up of so many body parts, all which have to work together. And also, can you see your wholeness as more than just a body? Meaning we have a soul, we have a spirit, so much more than just a body. Like I am so much more than a body. I have a soul that wants to be shared with this world and is talking to you tonight too. And I could share these things with you regardless of how my external appearance looked. That soul would still be there, just like it were with you, or is with you. The fourth step here is to shift into gratitude and appreciation. So can you truly appreciate everything that your body does for you? And this is different than lack, like looking at all the things your body can't do for you, which is something that our culture is so good at. We're so focused in lack, but this is different. I'm shifting into the opposite. We want to shift into, can you recognize everything that you're able to do because of your body? Because your body truly does so much, right? Your body allows your soul to be shared with this world. Like I said, without her, you could not experience life. Without your human body, you couldn't be listening to me right now. You couldn't be on this webinar or watching the replay, however you're experiencing this, you wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to experience all the things you love about life, whether it's traveling or running or playing or singing, dancing, hugging people finally, right? Or talking. None of it. You owe all of that to your body, and your body does so much also without you ever having to think about it. Like, it digests your food for you, it detoxes your body, it heals your wounds, it grows your nails, it allows you to breathe and grow hair and keep you warm and like blinking. Can you imagine if you had to sit here and like remember to blink every single, I don't know how many seconds between blinks? Like, I couldn't deliver this talk tonight if I had to sit here and control how many times I was blinking. And I'm so thankful my body just does it for me. I don't have to focus on it. And of course, now that I'm drawing my attention there, I'm looking at how many times I'm blinking. But it's things like this that we just take for granted. We don't think about it. And right now, I'm asking that you just take the time to think about it. Can you actually appreciate everything that your body's doing for you behind the scenes and like front and center? You can write something even in the comments right now, or comment on the video, however you're watching. What do you appreciate about your body? Put it into action, say it, write it down. Like, what is it that you appreciate that your body lets you do? What are you grateful for? And can you accept that your body is good and she's always good because she gives you life? And that's different from looks good. Your body is good. It's this idea that we know our body is good because we're living. And when we shift into gratitude for all that our body does for us on a daily basis, and we do these things I'm telling you in the step 4, body, respect, and love are very soon to follow. Which brings me to this step 5, which is not last but least, right? Shifting into love, but not for the physical stuff. It's for the non-physical to start. And I'm going to repeat my favorite saying again: the way you look is the least interesting thing about you. And this reminds us that people love us for who we are and not what we look like. And if they do only love us for what we look like, I'd ask you, is that really love? So again, think here, why do you love your best friend or your partner? And what is it that you value about them? Let me know again in the chat box if you'd like to. And sure, it's nice if we like how they look, right? But it has to be more than that for love. And perhaps it's the ability to make you laugh, or you trust them no matter what, or you feel like you could talk to them for hours. And just like you're in that relationship with them, you have to foster that relationship with yourself. And those relationships take time and attention and appreciation. So those are the 5 steps for tonight. I know like we're running a little over that timeline I gave you guys at the beginning, so I apologize about that. But I'd encourage you to try these on for yourself and to really test them out, and to know that these take time and attention. And actually, with that being said, as the final thing I want to talk about tonight, I just want to make you aware of a few snags that you might run into while you're trying to practice and implement these 5 steps. So you're just prepared to know how to navigate them, okay? So hope that sounds good. And let's just jump in to address those now. So the first thing is that no body image or bad body image days or thoughts are going to continue to happen. You got it. Bad body image days will continue to happen, and negative thoughts about your body may still arise. And I tell my clients over and over that coaching is not about getting rid of our thoughts. It's about changing how we respond to our thoughts. It's about building resilience and fighting back against negative thoughts and challenging the thought and choosing new. Resilience is a big part of building better body image, and you will get faster and faster at challenging those thoughts. Like sometimes it might take you, like when you're starting, it might take you like 10 minutes or so to really navigate that, maybe longer. And then the more you practice this, it might take a matter of a couple seconds, right? I'm in that space now where it takes me just a matter of maybe 5 seconds or so to really shift out of that thought. Step 2, or the second thing I want you to be aware of is know that this work takes time and practice. So just like anything new, you won't be good at it at first or an expert right away. And it may feel a bit weird even at first. You may be like, this is kind of silly, but trust me, the more you practice it, the easier it's going to get, and the more natural it will feel, and the better your body image is soon going to become. And when I first started learning these steps, they took me some time, and I had to stay in step 1 and 2 for a very long time. But after a while, I realized that those steps are actually becoming extremely natural for me. And I want to tell you this to say, just take your time, right? There's no timetable or expectation, and everybody's different and has different backgrounds and body stories. Now, will these 5 steps in this talk tonight solve all of your body image issues? I can say with 95% certainty, probably not. But these steps will get you started or at much farther along in your journey than before, and help a lot with some of the issues perhaps that you are facing. Resolving body image issues sometimes takes a hell of a lot more than just a 30-minute chat. So if you're struggling or if you'd like additional support here, know that I'd be more than happy to help you, whether it's with free resources that I've created or handouts or private coaching. This is the work I love to do, because there's truly nothing more rewarding than watching somebody heal their relationship they have with themselves and getting their life back. And we only get one of those after all. So do we really want to spend it being mad at our body, or would we rather enjoy the body that we've been given to live this life? And then the last thing is comparing, I want to talk about. You might run into this, that when you start comparing your body to others, like we talked about, and comparison is normal, but who we compare to can create body dysmorphia. A basic human need is belonging, and thus we are constantly looking for evidence on where we belong and how we measure up, whether it's our house sizes, our clothes, our money, our spouse, and of course our bodies, right? But like I said, who we compare to can create body dysmorphia. So if you're always comparing yourself to these thin bodies and you're in a bigger body, then of course you're not going to feel good about yourself. You're going to feel different. You're going to feel like the outsider. So we want to start seeing diversity and broaden our lens. And so much of diet culture for the longest time only showed us one type of body, which was thin. So if you'd like to kick this work up a notch after the event, I'd encourage you to diversify your social media, become exposed to different kinds and types of bodies that not only exist, but they exist full of health. And if you want help with this, I also have a handout to give you that will help you diversify your Instagram more specifically and give you some accounts that you can follow. So please reach out after this if you would like anything regarding that. So my voice is also right on cue, getting more hoarse, and I apologize for going a little bit longer than I thought we would. But just quick recap, what we covered is, what are diets and diet culture? What do they mean? We talked about how body image is this internal job and nothing really to do with our external appearance. We talked about the steps to change, which is awareness and then choice. You are in a relationship with your body just like you are with a partner or a friend, and those relationships have to be based on trust and acceptance and respect. Then there's those 5 steps to build a better body image, and then we talked about the 3 snags that you might want to be aware of or have some help navigating, which hopefully those things helped you that I brought up tonight. So with all of that said, I would just love it if you could share, if you're in the chat box with me here, to share one of your biggest ahas or takeaways from this session tonight, like whether it was a concept or a phrase or a word that really just stuck with you, just one thing. It really helps give me an idea of the messages that meant the most to you. And I really appreciate anything that you guys have. And with that being said, brings me to the end of the content I have for tonight. And thank you so much, Renee, for letting me speak here. And thank you guys tonight for tuning in and listening. I hope you found it valuable and that this starts causing ripple effects through the rest of your life. So with that, we can go to Q&A, Renee.
Awesome. Well, I have to say, I love this presentation. It was so good. You know what my aha moment was when you had said, what was it, 9 out of 10 women will cancel important functions?
Yeah.
Because on how they look. I wonder if a lot of that is subconscious as well. Like, I look back and I don't think I have done it, but I think that but there are times where I didn't want to go places because I didn't feel good. And why didn't I feel good? It could have been for many reasons. So I wonder if sometimes it happens subconsciously as well.
Yeah, I definitely think it can. And it brings you back to the two reasons why women diet. So one is to change our appearance, but two might be to feel better. So what is the reasons we're not feeling better? Can it be caused by those bad body image thoughts? Can it also be caused by physical symptoms? Absolutely, both of those scenarios. And I bet they play on each other too, right? So it's a great observation.
Yeah. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So does anybody have any questions? Do they want to pop in the chat or Q&A box? Let me just check Facebook as well. I think we've been good there. Yeah, so if you guys have anything, I loved all of the tips you have given. Now, what happens? I do have one question. What happens if you had mentioned in the beginning that when you came back from college, you know, people were commenting, you know, and pinching you and stuff. What would you suggest somebody does if that happens?
And that's the hard thing, because at that time in my life, I wasn't ever aware of any of this stuff. So if you are starting to become aware and that's happening to you, I talk about body image boundaries with people. So if you're starting this work, it's to basically let people know like what you're okay and not okay with them commenting on. So if they make a comment about your weight and make an insinuation about your health, or like say, oh, should you really be eating that? Like, that's not really the healthiest. You can say something like, hey, thank you so much for your concern, but actually this is a healthy choice for me. And you can say as much or as little as you would like there, right? You can even, if it's somebody you're close to, you can open up and say, you know, I've struggled with my relationship to food and I'm working on healing that. And I've struggled with my relationship to my body and I'm working on healing that too. Like, did you know that health could come at any size? And actually that's a great thing for people who aren't aware of this. There's health at every size is something I would look into. It's called HAES, or HAES. And it's a big movement that's basically a lot of research coming out showing how different body sizes are all okay. And we all can exist full of health in all of these different sizes, just like, you know, we all have different shoe sizes. We all have different heights. We have different eye colors, different hair colors. So wouldn't it make sense that we all have different kinds of bodies? But that's the one thing that diet culture latches onto to make all these billions of dollars, is trying to convince us that we need to be in the same size body. But anyway, Renee, sorry, I kind of went off track here, but boundaries,
okay.
for sure.
But I resonated with the fact that you had said, you know, back in the day, like I remember the whole diet culture, and yes, it's still very much alive today, but I remember back in the day when you had to eat 1,000 calories.
Oh my God.
That was a big thing. It's
1,200 calories is for a toddler, you guys. That's the nutritional needs of a toddler. You are a grown-ass adult.
I know. So I just wonder, like, how many of us back in the day ruined our metabolism and stuff because we were not even eating to sustain ourselves. It's crazy. It's crazy how we can just blindly follow. Not even, I don't want to say blindly. It's not we're blindly following. It's just that's the pressure and what's out there all the time, everywhere. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And I actually have to almost use this line of logic with clients to walk them to this, but it's like, okay, why were you on that diet, limiting yourself to 1,000 calories? It's because we were on this pursuit of health, which we were naming. We were on this pursuit of thinness, which we were naming as health, but in fact, it was making us unhealthy to do that. So we have to decouple this thin and health. They are not the same thing. They're not synonyms. And, you know, we can have small bodies full of health. We can have large bodies full of health. We can have the opposite. We can have small bodies that are not healthy, and we can have large bodies that are also not healthy. And I was like the walking example of that. I was in a smaller body, and I was 2 years ago trying to get diagnosed with conditions. Like, I had endometriosis, and the worst stage of endometriosis, and SIBO, PCOS, but doctors were telling me you can't have that. You're in a normal BMI category. If you have endo, it's probably nothing. And you can't have PCOS because people with PCOS are overweight and you're not overweight, but it's just kind of harmful when we look at it like that. And I spent so much time and energy trying to convince doctors that there was something wrong with me, but they were just looking at me, not listening. So if you are in that stage, I'd highly encourage you to get a doctor who listens and not just looks at your health.
Yeah. Well, we have a comment from Tudor. Thank you very much. As a recovering anorexic, I've also been rewarded for losing weight. And instead of feeling good, it made me wonder how bad I looked before. Also, in my case, those people were fueling a dangerous disease. That's why it's a policy of mine to never mention anybody's weight. Instead, I say, you look really healthy or your smile looks great. That's great. That's awesome.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much for that comment in the chat. I always say, if you feel the need to comment on someone's weight, don't. Just don't, because you don't know anything that's going on with them, especially in your case where you're saying you were suffering from something like anorexia. Like, those comments can be really triggering and send us down these spirals. So whenever we feel the need to make any mention about somebody's weight, I just redirect it to say something else about them. Like, love that you said you look healthy and your smile looks great.
Yeah. I remember a long time ago reading something about, if somebody was actually the size of a Barbie, she would literally have no periods. Because nobody can be that thin. Nobody. So it's interesting.
I also specialize in hormone health and digestive health. And what I find is we can actually gauge our health a lot better when we're looking at our cycles as women. Like, if we're actually having very healthy, regular cycles, it's usually a great indicator of our overall health. But if we're missing our cycle altogether, or if we're having painful periods or anything like that, that's making a bad cycle, because you're not supposed to have bad cycles, by the way. This isn't talked about as much either. They're not supposed to be painful. They're not supposed to be this absent period you don't get like for months on end. And we can start looking to that for indicators of our health.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? If not, what I'm going to do is I'll just put some information in the chat, and feel free to type in while I'm doing this. But I'm just going to say, thank you, Morgan, for joining us. It was a great, great conversation. This was really interesting, and I hope that everybody was able to get some information and get some takeaways from this as well. I do have another session next week. Normally I have them every other week, but I do have a session coming up next week. So I figured I'll just tell you guys real quick about that. It's actually about working from home wellness, and it's specifically going to talk about arms and shoulders self-care. So there'll be information in the Facebook group, and I'll send it out to you guys as well, so you have information. I will send a copy of the replay to you guys tomorrow. So if you want to watch anything, or if you came in late or have to leave, no problem. And yeah, so that is pretty much it. Morgan will send a thank you out as well, and with her information. So thank you everybody for joining. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If there are no other questions, we can end a few minutes early.
Great. And I want to say thank you so much, Renee, for having me on here. I really enjoyed being with your audience, and I hope everybody loved the talk. And I'll be reaching out tomorrow to you guys, but if you want to ahead of time, my contact information is all right here on the slide. And I'd highly encourage you to go follow me over on Instagram. If you have an Instagram, I spend a lot of time creating content just like this for free over on my page. And it also has a link in my bio, which will take you to a lot of other resources that are also both free, paid, whatever you're looking for. So you can find a lot of support over there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining tonight. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.